Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I am significantly fluffier than usual because I remembered to shower today, as opposed to all the other days where I usually forget to shower anyway. We got 5 albums to go through. Before I do, I want to say thank you to everyone who has watched at least bits of the American McGee's Alice Let's Play, which I put up last night, so if you haven't checked it out yet, maybe go give it a watch. I wouldn't say I had a lot of fun playing the game, but editing it was actually quite a lot of fun. You know you're in a weird place when editing a Let's Play is more fun than the Let's Play itself, but yeah, go check it out for yourself. We got 5 albums to go through for this, so let's go. We begin in Detroit, Michigan for Eva Under Fire and their second album, Love, Drugs and Misery. This one was initially supposed to come out, I think, in February, then I think it got pushed back to March, then I think it got pushed back to May, then it kept getting pushed back, but eventually it did drop last Friday. This is the band's first album in 7 years, their first actual release of anything in about 6 years, because they released an EP back in 2016, so they've been out of the game for a while. I think their lead singer did some dancing competition thing. Either way, this album gets a B-. I think it's a pretty solid modern-day hard rock with a female lead singer, but I wish that said lead singer, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head, I will look it up very, very quickly. Amanda Leiberg, who also goes by Eva Marie, which is the name of a pro wrestler, or former pro wrestler, one who was never very good. That's very strange, but yeah, Amanda Leiberg is a really good vocalist. However, I do wish she wouldn't keep doing this Lizzie Hale impression. Like, it just didn't really work for me. The band members all have a pretty solid chemistry, though. I love the guitar work in this album. I think the lyrics are a little bit basic at times. The structuring is occasionally repetitive. Although the B- grade I'm giving it is the lowest grade of this entire episode, spoiler alert. So, it doesn't really get any worse than this, which is a very backhanded compliment, because I do like elements of the album. I just wish that it weren't on Better Noise, because Better Noise just cannot get a good producer in, or they just feel like things have to be a certain way, and you could tell that Eva Under Fire have so much talent and potential bubbling under that, and if you ignore all the crappy things about the production and focus on things like the actual performances, some of the songwriting is really good, and the phenomenal guitar work, then you'd be a bit more willing to forgive certain things about it. But again, it's not the band's fault. They just happen to wind up on Better Noise, which is a really bad label. Just full stop. Next we go to Nashville, Tennessee for the Foxies and their debut album, Who Are You Now, Who Were You Then? So, these are a pop-punk group from Nashville, and I'm not really used to Nashville putting out punk rock subgenres, honestly. I'm more used to it putting out more traditional hard rock. But I'm quite surprised that, that they got a talented pop-punk band. I really like this album. I'm giving it a B. I think it's got some really good instrumentation to it. I like the sort of emo edge, but it's mostly kept light. The production is very, very smooth on this album. I will admit I do appreciate that fact. The lyrics are a little bit basic at times, but they do have a good bit of realism with themes about love and depression ringing through and doing quite well. My main issue is, again, with the lead singer, whose name, again, I cannot bloody remember. Where are you? Give me a moment. Julia Lauren, there we go. And she keeps trying to force vibrato whenever she sings, but it sounds like she's drowning. And she's trying way too hard to force it. Just sing naturally, love. You've got a really good natural voice. Just keep using that. You don't need to keep forcing it. Besides that, again, I like a lot of the instrumentation work, and the other band members all perform really well, as does Julia herself. She just needs to stop sounding like she's trying to spit out her toothpaste. It just is. It's a very, very strange production choice. I don't know if the production embellishes it and makes it sound worse, or if it's just naturally her trying too hard, but I don't know. It is a bit of a... not much of a deal breaker, because this album is still a B, but it can be a little bit frustrating to listen to at times. Still, I recommend you give this one a go. It's even pretty decent structure-wise, if a little bit repetitive, so it's got that going for it too. Next we go to Auckland, New Zealand for Like a Storm and their 4th album, Okura, or Okura, I hope I'm saying that correctly, which loosely translates to Large Warehouse. Not as cool as I thought it would sound, but there you go. This is a band I do quite like, though. They're the band I'm the second most familiar with. We'll get to the first a little bit later. Who's the band after this again? Actually, no, another band I'm fairly familiar with, but the last band we'll be covering I'm very familiar with. This album gets an A minus though. Again, just some very, very good hard rock. Their style of hard rock especially is really great. I love the work that the Brooks brothers put in, especially the bassist Kent Brooks. He's a very underrated bassist. I love the work he does. The structuring is really, really good too. It paces out the songs quite well. However, there's like 12 songs on the album. I think there's about 12. Let me double check really quickly. Oh no, there's 13, but 3 of the songs are instrumental. And it does sort of work for it in terms of the structuring. They do sort of bleed into the rest of the album very, very naturally. But it's the performances that really say this one, as well as how heavy the riff work is. And the lyrics too, very, very serious and dark topics, but handled in a very, very, I keep saying that a lot in these videos, handled in a very mature way, and it's just what the band has always been good at. And this is their first album in 4 years, but I've known about them for a wee while, so I think I said that at the start. I don't care. Go give this one a spin as well. It's the second highest graded album in this video, so that's how you know it's good, and it's only going to get better. But yeah, Like a Storm are a really good band, and I've liked them for a while. They're one of the few modern hard rock leading bands that I actually appreciate, so go try this one out. And by the way, part of the reason it's named Okura is because it's also the name of their own record label now, so they self-produced it, which is a massive help. Next we go to Paris, the city of lovers is burning this evening. True, that's because it's on fire. Paris, France, 4 novelists, and their 4th album, Deja Vu Premiere Party. I don't know why they needed to add the Premiere Party subtitle onto it. I think it should just be called Deja Vu. That itself is a really good name. Although, I like the fact that it's called Deja Vu and none of the songs are remixes of older songs. This is all original material. Anyway, these are a prog metalcore leaning band, and I've covered them before and I actually remember quite liking their last album. I quite like this one too. I am giving it a B+. I like the instrumentation to it as well. I like how it focuses less on the proggy side, which is good because it makes a genre I find often a bit repetitive and bland just a bit more fun, a bit more full of life. You know, the performances are really, really great too. The lyrics are still pretty good. I like how they focus on the political aspects of, well, the world, essentially. It's also produced very, very cleanly, and structure-wise it's also really, really good, although this one has 12 songs and 4 of those are just very, very short and instrumental tracks that don't really add to anything, and they start about the halfway point of the album and keep going until like one of the last songs on the album too. Like, I'm thankful that the last song on the album is not an instrumental track, but goddamn, they really needed to try and hammer this together a little bit better in that regard. Maybe put a couple of the instrumental songs together to make them full songs. That would have been nice, you know. It's a 12-song album, but actually it's an 8-song album. But there's still quite a lot to enjoy. It's a bit disappointingly short, but it's no less satisfying, so give it a spin if you've heard the buzz about novelists. They're definitely living up to it. And finally, we go to Lansdale, Pennsylvania for the Wonder Years and their 7th album, The Hum Goes On Forever. I love this band so much. This is one of my favourite pop-punk bands with emo alternative rock edge. One of my favourite bands of all time. And this is their best album. Hot take, this is their best album since The Greatest Generation. I'm giving it an A+. I loved everything about this album. I'm such a huge Wonder Years fan, and I had a feeling this was going to be the best album of last weekend, and all the other albums were good, but this one was the best album because of fucking course it was. It was the Wonder Years. I mean, they're very, very, very bad at disappointing me, you know? And yeah, I just love pretty much everything about this. I love how full of life the instrumentation is, which is something still very different to a lot of modern day pop punk, and a lot of modern day pop punk still tries to emulate this shit, and no one does it like the Wonder Years do. And there's the earnest storytelling and the callbacks to previous albums. Again, something that some bands do try to do, but not as well as the Wonder Years. They just don't have the miles on the road that TWI have put on. The performances, again, fantastic. These 6 dudes cannot do any wrong. Soupy is a phenomenal vocalist. I love how unlike a rock star he sounds, and he still sounds like, well, he's awesome, really. There's really no other way I can put that. He just sounds like a normal dude going through some shit, and you wish you could be there to hug him. I want to give him a hug. That'd be awesome, you know? The production is phenomenal as well, and they have their own record label for this one too, titled The Loneliest Place on Earth, which is such a Wonder Years name for a record label that they would make. I appreciate it, and Yeah, the production's really, really great. The structuring is the main thing I have a little bit of a problem with, but like in the whole grading system I gave when I reviewed the album on Discord, it was the only thing I gave an A, but I gave everything else an A+. And so the fact that I gave it an A doesn't mean I hate it. In fact, I do love it, and it does lead to a really, really great conclusion as it goes along too. It's just a great mixing of tones and moods that the band have always been masterful at putting together, and it leads to a very, very, very good ending when the album does end. But I didn't really want it to end. I really wanted the hum to go on forever. And that is about it. That will about do it for another one of these. I will see you all tomorrow night for my next Let's Play. Starting streaming my next Let's Play, which is TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Most recommended albums from this video, all of them, but definitely the Wonder Years album, The Hum Goes On Forever, the most. I love this band so much, and I'm still glad that they're putting out music at all, because it did take them a while to get here, but then again, the pandemic, you know, they wanted to get new stuff done back in 2020. Shit happens, it ain't their fault, but I'm glad that it gave them more time to put this out, because this album is really great. As are all these albums, they've all got some good merit to them. Yeah, I can't really think of much else. I will see you all tomorrow night. Oh, also, thank you to everyone who watched the return show, the PBW vs AVW. It was a lot of fun, especially the PBW half. My god, that main event between Morgan Knight and Harley Quinn was fantastic. So, I will see you all tomorrow night, and the next video will probably be on Sunday, because I forgot that there wasn't a UFC card last weekend. So, that's on me. I'll see you all tomorrow night. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.